Carol, good to have both of you. Welcome to Morning Live.
Hey,
Right.
we're happy to be here. Thank you.
Let's talk about the movie and how it came about. Karen, let's find out from you. What made you do it?
Okay, well, it was a very long journey. It started in 2008 when actually the SABC decided to do a series called The Icons. It was a series of 10 films commissioned on the heroes of South Africa. And we were commissioned to do the one specifically on Robert Mangaliso Sobukwe. So we started then, and we went into production, and it was a huge journey because, as Mickey will tell you, we had very little archive, so we spent a good year just trying to find archive at Wits University. There's a Sobukwe archive there. We went to UWC, Forte, many places across the country. And that's how it started.
Yeah. Well, I mean, talk to us a little bit more about Robert Sobukwe and what your findings were, because, like you say, not an easy topic to do.
Look, I mean, I think that the movie, as Carol in the Making, was a journey, as Carolyn said, because yes, I knew about Robert Sobukwe from struggle days and so on, but I didn't know what I know now. I probably only knew 10% of what I know now. So we read the book. There's a book by Benjamin Pogrund, so we read that. But that really was about the only thing that was around except newspaper articles and things like that. So, we discovered a life of firsts. Many things that, people throw the name non-racial around, randomly. Well, when he first talked about non-racialism, people thought he was crazy.
Yeah.
He used that word non-racial, and they said, come on, a word like that doesn't exist. He said, well, if it doesn't exist, then we create it. He was the first person to say there's only one race, and it's the human race.
Yeah.
At the time when everybody was talking multiracialism, for him and the PAC, you couldn't talk about race in a plural sense, because if you do that, then you might as well be racist as well. Many firsts, for instance, he was prisoner number 1 on Robben Island. He was in prison for 6 years on his own on Robben Island. In places like Standerton, where he taught after Fort Hare, he organized the very first political meeting ever. It was a whole lot of things that he did, and he was incredibly involved in some of the major turning points of the South African struggle, but most people don't know it. So when you watch the movie, you discover a lot of some of these things.
Relate Robert Sobukwe to Sharpeville Massacre.
Well, in a sense, that day, March 21, which today we're remembering, is the day when he came up with the notion that if the passbook is this thing that for black people is a scourge, if this is the thing that is forced on you to give you an identity, if it's the thing that wherever you go, if you do not produce it, you go to jail, irrespective of who you are, if it's the thing that really dehumanizes you and turns you into a slave, and that you must produce on demand when they ask for it, well, we're going to leave it at home.
Yeah.
And we're going to go up to the police and we're going to say, I don't have it.
Yeah.
Take me, arrest me.
Yeah.
And if the whole country does that, you can cripple the system.
Absolutely.
And in fact, that's what actually happened.
Yeah.
And they would not arrest them because I think they realized that, but there were many things that kind of led up to that day. But, I would say, up until that time, the PAC was maybe 9-10 months old. So people didn't take it seriously. They never thought to do anything. But I think they hadn't read the feeling of the majority of people that were around, that they were actually tired.
Carolyn, we talk about the fact that in the beginning it was quite difficult to research this and find information, but at the end of it, there was about 300 hours worth of footage that you put together. It must have been a very difficult task to try and bring it down and make a movie out of all of this work that you'd put together.
Yeah, I think one of the hardest things was actually trying to find Robert Sobukwe's voice, which we never found. I mean, that was a huge task. We tried all over the world to find archive, to find the actual voice. While we found writings of him, and we obviously found his speeches from Forte and Hilltown, in earlier days, he had made some powerful speeches, and we took those speeches and we recreated, dramatized those events, because there was no archive and there was no audio. And the critical thing was to find his voice, because he was such a powerful orator. So, I mean, the process of having all these hours and hours of interviews was conducted both locally and internationally. And literally it did. It took Mickey a good year, I'd say, to craft the initial cut that we could work with, to be able to create a narrative that could tell the story in about an hour to 108 minutes. It's an epic. It's an epic story. So it's told. Initially I think we had 2 or 3 hour cut, and we had to eventually come down. We had to work a cut for broadcast, 2-part series. So we had 2 times 52-minute episodes, and then we had a feature length 108 minutes. So it was a journey, definitely. And obviously, as Mickey said himself, he had to keep some people in and he had to keep other people out. We had interviewed. Unfortunately, we couldn't have everyone in because we had to create a story at the end that would work in terms of Sobukwe's key moments of his life, the critical beats. We looked at 5 beats, when he was born, when he went to Forte, when he launched the PAC, Sharpeville, when he went to Robben Island, and then when he was banished to Kimberley for the last, 7, 8 years of his life, before he passed.
Amazing. Yeah. Now, you showed, there was a screening last night in Soweto. I think there's another one this afternoon. What was it like?
No, it was very responsive, definitely. And yes, we have another one at 2 p.m. At the Soweto Theatre in Jabulani. And yeah, we're looking forward to people coming through, and it's for free. So, people love things for free. Yeah. So we hope that they will come and share with us and connect with us. And it's Sobukwe's day today. Yeah. This is, without him, this day would not have happened. His first real turning point in the history of struggle in South Africa was March 21, 1960.
I'm leaving the interview on that note, because that's a powerful note to leave it. Mickey, thank you. Thank you so much, Karen. Thank you very much for being us. Congratulations on the movie. Well done on your awards as well. As you know, the South African Film and Television Awards took place last week, and this particular movie getting quite a few awards for its work.